seated.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Good morning. We're so glad you all are here. Welcome, those of you that are here in the tent and out on the beach, and those up in our main bar watching, and the bra room. We're glad you guys are here as well. I promise no other church in America said that this morning. Guaranteed. If you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. It's right over there. One of our additional seatings, which you too can experience next week if you want to. Well, if we haven't met yet, my name's Dan. I'm the pastor here at the Flora-Bama, and we're so glad you guys are hanging out with us. If this is your very first time, welcome. Flora-Bama family, help me welcome all of our first-time guests that are here with us. Thank you guys for being here. Whether you are in town from out of state, how many guys from out of states that are here in the room? Oh man, welcome down. How great is this February weather, just like back home in Michigan and Minnesota? And my family's from northern Minnesota, and they're still freezing their butts off up there right now. I send them all kinds of pictures this time of the year, wooing them down south, you know? But if this is your first time, we would love to get you connected to everything happening here at the church. The easiest way to do that is stop by one of our info tables. We've got one right over here at this side and one right over... Are you serving over there, bro? Yeah. Well, you're there, so you are now. Right over here. We'd love to get you connected. Our team would love to meet you. We've got a free gift for you. You can find out all the things going on here at the church. Get connected that way. We've got what's called a remote ministry, which keeps you connected with the church. When you head back from wherever you are from, if you're not from the area, you can find out what's going on. The services are sent to you today. We've got a special guest. Andy Andrews is in the house today. How great is that? It's really easy to get connected to our remote ministry. If you got a program when you walked in, now I know there are some of you that didn't get one because we ran out, but if you did get one, on the back it says remote ministry. There's an email there. All you have to do is email that email address, john.mason@centralonline.tv, and we will make sure you guys get services. So like services today, even though you're here, you can get that sent to you to show your family and your friends to get connected and everything going on. Another very easy way to get connected is to grab one of our Next Step cards at one of our info tables. It's just really quick, fill it out, and you can drop it in one of our giving stations. We've got one right here. We've got a giving station right over there, and then one on the way out as you leave. It's also a place, if you came today wanting to give part of your tithes or offerings here at the church, you can do that. And I just want to say ahead of time, thank you guys for your generosity. We're able to do all that we do because of your generosity, not only rescuing people and introducing them to Jesus here at church, but as well as our partnerships in the prisons, in youth reach, and all the things that we do right here in the community. So I just want to say thank you guys for you that are able to help. And right by our giving station on the way out, you're going to see a table. Andy has a bunch of books out there, and since he's not going to plug himself, I'll do it for him. The Little Things is actually Andy's newest book out, and I'm going to tell you, if you read no books this year except for one, The Little Things needs to be that book. It'll take you an afternoon to read it. I loved it. I'm an addictive reader, but I feel no obligation to finish crappy books. None. I've got friends and sisters, and they start a book, they feel obligated to finish it. I feel none of that. I don't care. I know I spent the $20. I don't care. I'll put it down. I'll give it away as a re-gift, you know. I make sure I don't mark it up until I finish the whole thing, you know. And I have never started one of Andy's books that I didn't finish. Another great book, if you have not read, is The Noticer. Kind of shares part of Andy's story. Phenomenal, phenomenal books. And something very cool that Andy did for all of us is he went ahead of time and he autographed every book out there. So if you purchase any of his books, how cool is that of him to do, right? So if you purchase any of his books, it's going to be a signed copy today, and it's going to be an awesome, awesome time. He'll be up here in just a few moments, but also if you've got a program, I just want to make a highlight of one thing in your program. Tonight, starting tonight at 6 o'clock at the Wharf, we are kind of reopening what we call Celebrate Recovery. Now, we've been doing Celebrate Recovery for a couple of years here at the church, but we've not had a space to be able to open it up to our whole church. And so we've been kind of doing it one-on-one and in smaller groups. But starting tonight, Celebrate Recovery kicks off. We're super excited about it. If you don't know a lot about Celebrate Recovery, there's info in the program. But it's a great community of people that will walk side by side with each of us through our hurts, our habits, and our hang-ups. I often get asked if, well, I don't have an addiction to anything, can I still go? Listen, if there is an addiction in someone's life, CR is definitely for that person, but Celebrate Recovery is not just for those that may be wrestling with an addiction. If there is any hurt that you're walking through, or habit, or hang-up, or there's something you're going through that you kind of want to link arms with somebody, and with the power of Christ, get through that stuff together, Celebrate Recovery is the place for you. There's an interest meeting starting tonight. So if that's you, or if you think you're somebody that could help somebody else get through a hurt, a habit, or a hang-up in their life, this meeting's also for you. It's going to be tonight at 6 o'clock at the Wharf. If you want more detailed information, the program, it says it right there, to email Rick Long at Flora-Bama at centralline.tv. Email him and we'll kick it off tonight. If you can't be there tonight, we've got another interest meeting happening a week from tonight as well. We would love to see as many of you as can make it there. Now, with the size of group that we have here and a bunch of hands I just saw from people out of state, I know there's some people sitting near you at least that you probably gave the Sunday morning church smile to. Right? Hey, right? Leave me alone. Just saying, hey. Would you do me a favor? I want you to actually meet him right now. So would you stand to your feet, whether you're out on the beach, up in the main bar, the bra room, or here in the tent? Introduce yourself and welcome them to church.
I'm going to slow it down just a little bit. These lyrics. Can please sing along with us in worship. Everybody sing worthy. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain.
is that, guys? Come on. Thank you all. Well, like I said, we're so glad you guys are here, especially today. We're so excited to have our friend, my friend, the church's friend. If you've been here and you've seen him before, you're excited and ready to go. If you've not been able to hear Andy speak, you are in for an amazing time. It's a big deal for me as a pastor. I know I may not be your pastor. You may be here from out of state, or you're a local and some friends brought you in because Andy was speaking, or this is just kind of your first time to church in a while, or ever maybe. And I may not be your pastor, but it's a big deal for me as a pastor who I hand this mic over, because I've handed the mic over to some crazy people before. And they say ridiculous stuff. And so I'd rather not have to tackle them and take the mic back, you know. So, one person that I've handed it over to? All right. We'll talk about that after, I guess. The great thing about Andy, phenomenal communicator, one of the best in the world that there is, but beyond that, Andy's the real deal. He's not up here putting on a show. He is the real deal. And I've been able to see Andy interact with his family, and he's a man of integrity, loves his wife, loves his boys. And so would you help me welcome our friend, Andy Andrews. Come on up, Andy.
Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna hold the mic up before you tell me to. All the sound people and everything. Every time I use one of these kind of mics, I always go. So okay. I am very excited to be here with you guys, and that was very, very nice what you said. And I do love my wife and boys, and you said I was. Integrity and the real deal, and I'm not sure what the real deal is, but I have noticed already just a bunch of people that are here today, because we live here, right? This is our church. This is where we go to church, and so there are so many people in the audience that I see that have been such major influences in my life, and whatever it is that I'm in the process of becoming, there's a lot of people in here who have a piece of that, and I appreciate you guys so much. And also, I just want to tell you, I don't know if Dan's going to take the mic away from me today, but you need to come sometime normally he preaches, right? And Polly and I have told our boys are 18 and 15, and I remember going out of here, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago, and I told the boys, I said, you know what? You have no clue how fortunate you are at your age to be in a church where every single Sunday you are interested in what the preacher is saying. Because I didn't grow up like that, all right? So, I love listening to Dan. Have you guys been watching the Olympics? I don't know why we watch, Polly. Why do we watch the Winter Olympics? We don't do any of that stuff. And I'm not really interested in the Summer Olympics that much. I don't know why, but somehow the Winter Olympics we get fired up about that. We really watch that, even though I can't. I was watching the other night, and I'm thinking I can't be the only person that doesn't know the difference in downhill and Super G, and they never say what Super G is. And so and you probably say, well, Google it. I know, but I just didn't. But I do like, and I guess a lot of the reason the ski jumping. The jumping was last night, of course, I'm kind of watching the ski jumping for the same reason that people watch NASCAR or go to bull riding. It's like, yeah, somebody's going to wreck here in a minute. There was a famous one. Remember, the famous wreck on the ski jump was the agony of defeat guy. Remember that? But I say, you have no clue what I'm talking about, do you? There are people that are like under 25, and they're going, oh, I don't know. You remember? You remember Wide World of Sports, right? Every Saturday, the Wide World of Sports. Every week, bringing you the best in competition. was the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. And when they do the agony of defeat, that guy would just like crumple on that ramp. It's just like, oh, it was horrible. It was just horrible. But and the thing is, I think, this just occurs to me, the guy, I mean, he was in the Olympics. I mean, this guy was in the Olympics. He had probably made 10,000 perfect jumps, screw up one time, and for the rest of his life, he is the agony of defeat. I mean, this poor guy, right? I mean, he's in some bar in Sweden, and every Saturday, hey, Lars, you're on again. So, God, oh, no. Man, I look at what we are and what we're doing, the times in which we live, and it's kind of scary, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Man, we have choices that we make, and yet we remain frightened. You know, I had a Supreme Court justice's spouse, his wife, called me a while back and he got me on my cell phone and was not real happy with me. And I was like, well, what? She said, I saw you on MSNBC and you had that guy right where you wanted him and you did not tell him. You did not tell him. And I said, well, you're right. I didn't. And she said, well, we can't ever win if you don't tell them that. And I said, oh, okay. I said, can I just say, because I did that on purpose, and so let me just tell you why I did it. She said, okay, well, I would really like to know why. I said, well, you know, I've watched these two sides fight since God was a boy. And I don't know that anybody has right in the middle of one of these screaming matches just said, yeah, you're right. Never mind. Now I'm on your side. I've never seen that happen. Okay? And so somewhere along the line, somebody has to have some kind of civil conversation. And somebody's got to be friends with somebody before somebody will listen to anything. It's just amazing. Because she said, well, there's no way to be friends with anybody else because we don't agree on anything anymore. We don't agree on anything. And I said, no, really? Anything? She said, anything. I said, I think there's some things we actually agree on. And she said, well, I would really love to know what they are. I said, okay, well, hang on here. Here's one. I said, both sides, we want the best for our children, don't we? I mean, if I ask one of them, you want the best for you? Yeah, they want the best. And so we want the best. Now, the best, that's one thing. There may be two sides, but we want the best. And the best is one thing. It's like the truth. It's one thing. Right? I mean, there may be different categories, but we're not talking about among the best. We're not talking about some of the best. We're talking the best. That's one thing. And so if we could find the best. I said, here's something else. We both agree that society seems to be sliding downhill at an increasing rate. You know, if you took your computer and Googled the top 10 things that teachers dealt with in 1960 in high schools, you know, it might make you laugh. It's kind of like, you know, chewing gum and running in the halls, tardiness, smoking, yeah, right? I mean, that's what, but if you Google the top 10 things teachers deal with in high schools today, if you didn't know it was high school, you might think, is this a prison? Is this prison stuff? Because it is kind of crazy. But something else we agree on is that there was a time when we were incredible. There was a time. We can kind of track it backwards. It's about 75 years ago, and we can look at that generation of people, and that generation of people across the board, they gave more, they sacrificed more, they became more. I mean, we even gave them a name, right? We got a name for them. What do we call them? The greatest generation. The greatest generation. Even though that's not true, people, see, people give that title and never think through it. They don't necessarily think they were the greatest generation. And I'll just tell you why. I think we would have to give that title to their mamas and daddies and their teachers and the adults of that time. By what standard did those adults raise an entire generation of children that 75 years later we're still saying that's the best we ever were? What did they require? What did they explain? How is the thinking? Because obviously our choices matter. But you can't make anybody. You can make somebody make a choice when they're right in front of you. You're bigger than your kid. You got more money than your kid, and because I said so works when they're right in. As long as you're in my house. But if a smart kid, they'll just shut up, and in their mind they're going, I'm not always going to be in your house. And so, do we want that behavior to change right then? And then get out of my sight and you do whatever you want to do. Or grow up and you can do whatever you want to do. No! We want them to understand. We want to understand about choosing atmosphere and choosing people we're around. Let me ask you this. Here's something kind of curious. It may seem like a subject change, but not really. How many of you have bad doctors? I mean, the doctor that you have chosen for your family, that you use over and over again, that you take your family to, that doctor is without a doubt below average in his or her knowledge of medicine and their ability. They are without a doubt below average, and that's who you've chosen to go to. Right? No? Okay. Well, see, here's something. Here's something very curious. Did you see this that I brought out? This is one of my favorite possessions. Debbie knows. This is one of my favorite possessions. This started me on a quest. This was given to me by Wes Hampton, who's a singer with Gaither Vocal Band, and he gave it to me for my birthday, and I was blown away. This is one of Aunt B's plates from the Andy Griffith Show. Is that awesome? Is that awesome? And so, I love the Andy Griffith Show. I mean, sometimes people ask me, they'll say, what do I think is the greatest television show of all time? And I say, well, it doesn't really matter what I think. I can tell you what, maybe we talk about what the second greatest is, because God has already said the Andy Griffith Show is his favorite show of all time. So who am I to go against God? It is curious, though. It is really curious. I'm not kidding. The show is anointed. Why? Wait. Why would you say that? Let me tell you some things about this. This show, it filmed its last episode 50 years ago. 50 years ago. It lasted for 8 seasons. Now, when it came on the air, the critics were unanimous. It was unimaginative, dull, dim-witted. It was, and one of them said, easy to resist. It was across the board. They hated it. They hated it. But people loved it. In the first year, it ended the year as number 7 in the Nielsen ratings. That was the lowest it would ever rank. 8 years, 249 episodes, even though most of the aficionados only really count the first 5 years because that's the black and whites. That's the one that Don Knotts was in. And Don Knotts, it's never been done before or since, Don Knotts actually played Barney Fife for 5 years and won 5 Emmys for playing that character. 249 episodes, 8 years, and when they went off the air, they were number 1. It's only happened 3 times in television history. I Love Lucy, Seinfeld, and The Andy Griffith Show. Now, if you look at that, you say, well, those 3 are tied. Not really. Not really. Because you have to take into account what has happened over the years. It has influenced television in a huge way. First of all, you may not know, but the set for Mayberry was taken from a piece of Atlanta in Gone with the Wind. And that's the set they used. There were also 2 times that Star Trek used the downtown set of Mayberry and just like put tumbleweeds and trash and all in the streets and emptied the streets, and that they were on some other planet, but it was Planet Mayberry, right? And so this thing today. Hey, you ever seen Big Bang Theory? Big Bang Theory was created by Chuck Lorre, and Chuck Lorre believes that The Andy Griffith Show is the greatest television show in history. And he pays tribute to The Andy Griffith Show on every episode of Big Bang Theory. Now, the creator and producer of The Andy Griffith Show was a guy named Sheldon Leonard. And if you remember on Big Bang Theory, the 2 main characters are Sheldon and Leonard. On The Andy Griffith Show, Howard lived alone with his mother. And on Big Bang Theory, Howard lives alone with his mother. And so there are all these kind of things going on, but today, people still watch it. Now, I'm not saying it is still being watched. What I'm saying is that this past year, on however many channels there are now, 1,000, I don't know. I mean, there's so many channels that there are 1,715 shows currently being produced. Now, that doesn't include the shows like Bonanza that still reruns. That doesn't include the shows like SpongeBob SquarePants that's still being... I mean, I don't know how many more thousands you would have to add up all the shows that are available. But last year, The Andy Griffith Show was number 60 in viewers. Netflix ran a program and figured The Andy Griffith Show had 36.9 billion minutes viewed. So what's happening? What is happening? I think a lot of people go, well, you know, gosh, we'd just like to be, we'd like to be happy like that. It's like, I mean, it's just all, they're happy. Now, some cynics might say that, well, yeah, they're happy. They're all single, okay? Because when you think about it, Andy's single, Barney's single, Ernest T is single, Gomer's single, Goober's single, Floyd is single, Aunt B is single, Helen's single, Thelma Lou is single. The only one who is married is Otis, and of course he's happy. He's drunk all the time. So there are things that you can notice about this, right? And yet we watch that show and we can still laugh even in crazy times in our lives, even when there is something so wrong in our lives or something, we can kind of go to Mayberry. It's a very odd thing. And if you talk to people say, well, I think it would be awesome just to live back then. Wouldn't it be awesome to be able to live? You know, here's something very curious to me. If you look at when that show was running for the first time, it wasn't real peaceful. In 1961, the Bay of Pigs invasion was going on. In 1962, we're in the Cuban Missile Crisis. 63, JFK was assassinated. 64, the Civil Rights Act was finally passed after 86 hours of filibuster in the Senate. 65, Winston Churchill died, and the U.S. sent their first wave of troops into Southeast Asia. And there were riots, and there were, and the Andy Griffith Show was cooking. So many people were choosing that. I believe the show's anointed. And I believe that's why it has lasted. Because I believe that there are things, see, they taught me a big lesson. I mean, there was a career lesson that I learned from the Andy Griffith Show. Now, I met George Lindsay. I was around him a little bit, Goober. I met Gomer once. I met Jim Neighbors once. Minnie Pearl introduced me to Jim Neighbors. But the other guy, I never met any of them. Okay, but I watched. And I really paid attention to the writing on that show. And what they were saying and how they were saying it. And I realized that they were sharing Jesus in a way that kind of nobody was seeing. And I realized that this is what I needed to do. You know, there used to be the Campus Crusade thing, right? And that really worked, to go out, send a bunch of kids out, and they're going to play volleyball, then they're going to separate and go get some people, come back, play volleyball, then they drink a Coke, then they take their new friend over to the palm tree and put their arm around them, ask them if they have a relationship with Jesus, show them the 4 spiritual laws, and lead them to Christ. That doesn't happen anymore. Now, if you ask people, why doesn't that happen anymore? People say, well, times have changed. That's true, but it's not the truth. Did you know something can be true and not the truth? Well, that's one of them right there. Because that is true. Times have changed. But the truth is something much deeper. The truth is how things have changed. See, back in the 60s and in the 70s, you know, there were almost everybody had an idea in their mind. I mean, they didn't know everything. I mean, there was a rare person that, you know, said, oh yeah, I know everything, or I'll give you an answer on that in 5 minutes. I mean, everybody was aware we didn't know it. You didn't have the internet. You know, television quit at midnight. Remember during football season, I mean, we had to wait until the papers were delivered on Tuesday to find out what the rankings, what had done in AP and UPI for college football rankings. And people were aware they didn't know everything. And so you could ask somebody, hey, you have a relationship with Jesus? Where are you? I mean, and people, well, okay, well, let's talk. Now, even though people don't know everything, they think they do. And because they think they do, they have decided. They've decided. You can't get in. You can't get through a barrier. You can't talk to them because they've decided. And so there's got to be a way to connect. The Andy Griffith Show taught me with my books that what I was going to do, I was going to write books with Christian principles. I was going to write books that a Christian could give to a non-Christian friend that non-Christian would actually read. And then would create conversations between them. I wanted books that could be put in public schools. You know, so we had smart people create curriculums for these books, and these and we made the curriculums free. You know, any teacher anywhere can just go on our website and download the curriculums for free. And they're curriculums from K-5 up to graduate level stuff. And so there's 2,500 school systems in America using these books. And the Christians, they get it. They get it. I mean, I had a lot of people at one point ask me, man, what are the odds? Because Good Morning America made the Traveler's Gift Book of the Month. And they said, what are the odds that Good Morning America would choose a Christian book? What are the odds? Well, see, they didn't see it that way. They just saw it as truth, as principles. But it created tons of conversations. With the Andy Griffith Show, there is one overwhelming factor that you will find over and over, and it is at the heart of our faith. Grace. I mean, how stupid is Barney Fife? Right? I mean, this guy, he does the stupidest things, and yet Andy gives him grace. Thelma Lou, Aunt Bee, everybody gives Barney grace. Protection, real friendship. Andy won't take the credit and give it to Barney. We see the values in this show that really they really describe grace. Now look at this. In 2 Peter, the second verse in the whole chapter, it says this: grace and peace be yours in abundance through a relationship with Jesus. Grace and peace. Now, I got to tell you, I don't know about you, but there have been times in my life, and there was one time I really needed grace and peace. You know, I came out of the third floor thing here a little while ago, looked out at the beach, and I thought, oh, wow, that's beautiful. But when I was actually living on the beach and sleeping under the pier and in and out of people's garages and everything, I didn't really look at it that much, okay? And in and out of people's garages, it's funny to me, you know, we still live here, right? As I sometimes... you know, my wife knows I'm a smart aleck, and she's afraid that I'm going to blow my cover sometime. But people locally will come up sometimes and go, "Hey, I read your books," and you know, occasionally I'll see one of them. I want to go, "Hey, really? I slept in your garage." but this was a time. This was a time that, man, I met this old guy. He called himself a noticer, but his name was Jones. We didn't know where he's from. We didn't know, you know, where he went when he left. We didn't know how old he was. We're like, is he 80 or 180? We weren't really sure. But this guy, he called himself a noticer. He said when God was passing out talents, I didn't get the cool ones. I can't run fast. I can't sing great. But I noticed little things that make a difference in people's lives. And so this is just an old guy, and he was the only person paying any attention to me at all. People ask me sometimes, they say, so like, how'd you feel when you, I don't know. Were you sad? No, I wasn't sad. Were you like you were depressed? No. Really? How'd you feel? I was mad. All the time. And if you say, mad at what? Everything. You know, I was mad at my mother for whatever she had done to get cancer. I was mad at whatever she had done to the treatment that didn't work. I was mad at my dad for not wearing a seatbelt. I was mad at God for letting it all happen. I even told Jones one day, you know, he said something about God, and I said, yeah, fine. I'm not sure I believe in God anymore. He said, that's okay. That's okay. He still believes in you. And it was a period of time when I was receiving grace, and I didn't ask for it. I didn't deserve it. Certainly didn't earn it. But grace and peace are yours in abundance through a relationship with Jesus. Hey, and I know that you guys who don't know Wide World of Sports would never remember this, but do you remember growing up, there was a hymn, and we all remember Amazing Grace. Everybody remembers that. But there was another hymn, and this is what it said. It said, grace, grace, God's grace. Grace that will pardon and cleanse within. Grace, grace, God's grace. Grace that is greater than all my sin. Do you remember that? Some of you remember that? I saw that again the other day. A relationship with Jesus, and He will provide grace that will pardon. Pardon. I did feel pardoned then, and I knew I didn't deserve it. I knew I had not asked for it. I had not earned it. But there was a time when I began to understand I had been pardoned and cleansed within. Because I knew what I was like. I knew, people sometimes they'll come up to me at these corporate events, or they'll read a book and they'll say, oh, I wish I'd have met you 30 years ago. I'm like, you didn't want to meet me 30 years ago. But grace will cleanse within. Grace that is greater than all my sin. You're like, yeah, well, okay. Yeah, sure. Really? You don't know what my sin is. Yes, but Jesus' grace is greater than all your sin. I know, but you don't know what my sin is. And I don't think that my sin and one of my friends with that question asked, I thought this was hilarious. He said, this guy told him, he said, God could never forgive what I've done. My friend said, really? Have you ever slept with somebody's wife and got them pregnant and then had the husband killed? And the guy said, well, no. And my friend said, that's what David did. And he repented, and God said he was a man after his own heart. God gave him grace. Grace that pardoned him, that cleansed within. Grace that was greater than that sin. Hey, see if you can do this. I just want to hear this. See if you can do this. All right, it's grace, grace, God's grace, grace that will pardon and cleanse within. Right? Grace, grace, God's grace, grace that will pardon and cleanse within. Grace, grace, God's grace, grace that is greater than all my sin. What a cool song. And I watch the Andy Griffith Show and I think, man, there is grace. There's grace and peace. And it was a choice to watch that during a time that, to me, seems kind of as bad as what we got going on today. Just different stuff, but it seems just as, and yet you choose. I can't have a steady diet of the news. I know what's going on. Okay, but if I can't do anything about it right then, I can't keep watching that, because I know how it affects me when I'm trying to help some other people. And so the Andy Griffith Show is my choice. See, I would kind of I would kind of like to prove a little bit of a point that yeah, today things are really bad. But things are really great. And what do I mean by that? Well, whatever they tag us, whatever they tag this date in history, it is an average. When you go into a recession, when a country goes into a recession, that's a dot on the graph. I mean, you know how they do it. A week before, economic indicators we appear to be sliding into what might be an extended recession. And then the next day, so the economic indicators are literally taking a little bit of dive here, and we might be sooner than we think. And then there was a day where we are now officially in a recession. Okay, well, that's a dot on the graph. And yeah, there's people doing pretty bad, but there's people doing pretty good. You know, in the Great Depression, and when you hear about the Great Depression, the only thing anybody talks about is, yeah, the Great Depression meant people diving out the windows at Wall Street. That's true. That happened. But if you look back at history, that is also the one time in American history where certain families created fortunes that have lasted until this day. Yeah, it was horrible and great. You know, of course, that there is no way everybody in here has a great doctor. Right? I mean, if we lined up all the doctors who represent us in here, statistics say 50% of us would have doctors that are below average. But the way we choose to look at them and deal with them, we don't even see it. The Andy Griffith Show reminds me that I can choose. I can choose. This is why, you know, when Wes gave me that plate, I started on a quest at that point, man, and it's taken years, my quest to be reminded of peace and grace in my office and in my house. I want to be reminded of peace and grace. My wife and I, Polly and I, we have watched those episodes so many times that we say the lines back to each other. Inappropriate conversation, inappropriate times. You know, somebody will say the line. I mean, what do you say when one of the boys, you know, comes through the kitchen without a shirt on?
Oh, you can't come to the table a naked savage.
Can't come to the table a naked savage. That's what Aunt B told Opie. I mean, we do this, and so I started, and I ended up. I've got what's left. I actually own what's left of Aunt B's china. I have Floyd's barber brush. I have Helen Crump's stapler. I have Briscoe Darling's jug. What else? I've got I got the telephone that was in the Taylor's living room, season 1. I've got the telephone that was in the Taylor's living room, season 2, 3, 4, and 5. You remember when Goober took the car apart and reassembled it in the courthouse, and then Andy took it? Yeah, right? I've got the telephone from Wally's gas station that he was talking on in that. And I've got one of the 2 telephones. They would switch it back and forth between the desk and the hotel. And this is the one where Barney went and Nita, Juanita. Remember that? And so, oh, and I have one other thing that I brought to show you. So if you want to, you know, I'm going to hang around after, and I'd love for you to say hey to the boys out there. But I brought something that you can look at. Dan, would you like, you guys pull that? Here it is back here. This is from the 2nd season. The very first season of the show was Sheldon Leonard was the producer. In the very first season of the show, they used a Fairlane for the squad car. But after the first year, everybody knew that it was a hit. And at that point, Ford Motor Company started giving them a Galaxy every year. And so this was the first Galaxy that they had. And after that first season, the cast and crew gave it to the town of Mount Airy, which is Andy Griffith's hometown, and they actually used it in the rolling stock of the sheriff's department, and they after about 10 years they retired it and put it in front of the courthouse, where it stayed for about 15 years, and then they moved it back into the weeds, where it stayed for 20 or 25 years, which is where I got it a couple of years ago. And it's the original bubble light, it's actually all original stuff, except we put new brakes on it and some stuff like that. But it's original siren. You remember Barney pull up and it'd go brrr, like that? I know why now, because it's not a switch that you flip and the siren comes on. You have to hold the button down for the siren to go, and you let it go for it to dial down, then push it again. And so he would just pull up a place, pop it. See, here's the light, and here is what Barney would do when you pull up. But you can wind it up, and the only thing that we really changed on the car, this was just for me, and I tell Polly sometimes, say, you in a bad mood? Just go drive the squad car, because people will drive off the road. It is hilarious. And so, but I love, this is the only thing we changed on it, and I'll put the microphone down so you can actually hear this. So that's Barney's theme. And I want you guys, if you'd like, we put some stuff in here. Let's see, and you just come see it. Aunt Bee's pearls are in here. Opie's catcher's mitt, the telephone, Briscoe Darling's jug. There's Aunt Bee's brooch and compact, and there's a script from the show and Floyd's barber brush right there. So come have your picture taken with it if you want afterwards. And listen, I really appreciate being a part of this church. I really appreciate being a part of this community and a part of you. And I really want for you, more than anything, I want for you God's grace. And so if you will, I'm going to get Dan up here, but the last thing, just with me one more time, the song, okay? Grace, grace, God's grace, grace that will pardon and cleanse within. Grace, grace, God's grace, grace that is greater than all my sin. Thank you, guys. Dan, come on.
Come on, how good was that? So awesome, Andy. Thank you so much. Well, before I turn you guys loose to get pictures of the squad car, and make sure you stop by Andy's table and get all those books. Remember, he signed every single one of them for us today. I would love to close us out in prayer, if that would be okay. So whether you're out on the beach there or under the tent, in the bra room, I just like saying it, so I thought I'd... or up in the main bar, would you bow your heads with me as we pray? Father, we're so grateful. We're so grateful for Andy, his family, his gift that he shared with us today. God, I pray that would be taken to heart, that we would learn to open our lives to your grace, That when we come to the end of ourselves, Lord, grace isn't something that we can jump through a hoop and earn, but it's something you give us because you love us. And for those of us in desperate need today of your grace, God, I pray that we would come to realize it's found through a relationship with Jesus Christ. And so, Jesus, we open up our hearts to you today. We believe that you're God's Son, that you came to this earth to die for us. And we ask you to forgive us, to fill us with your grace and your peace. Help us to develop this great relationship with you. And we pray these things in Jesus' name. The Flora-Bama family said, Amen. Amen. Listen, we need your help for just a moment. If you could grab the chair that you're sitting on and bring it right over here to the closet and up against here in the back wall. The bar is open and continuing, so we're going to clear this out for them. The car is going to be here for quite a while, so don't feel like you got to leave your chair to go get a picture with the car. We love you guys. Remember that Romans 8 tells us that if God is for us, who can be against us? We'll see you next week.